Hi, welcome to my video on simple interest. We're going to do some word problems and working out the interest on loans. It's called simple interest. Interest is paid by the bank on money deposited into an account. The formula that's used is I equals P times R times T. So you really could write it out as I equals P times R times T, but without any multiplication sign like here in between. It's understood to be multiplication between these two, between these letters. I is the amount of interest that you're going to receive. P is the principal or the amount deposited into an account. R is the rate of interest, and the rate of interest is normally annual. It's an annual interest or a yearly. Keep that in mind, yearly, all the time. And T is the number of times the interest is calculated. So T, simple interest makes everything simple. It's when you do compound interest thing, the idea of interest gets a little bit more confusing. The annual rate of interest, yearly interest, annual. If the annual rate of interest is yearly, then if your time is 1 year, so you get 1 divided by annual, you get 1. If it's 2 years, you get 2 divided by 1, which is 2. 6 months, you get 6 months is 6 out of 12. Since it's months, we have 12 months in a year, so 6 out of 12 is the time to calculate, but you only get half of that amount. 4 months is 4 out of 12, so you get it 1/3 of the amount of interest. 1 month is 1/12, and it's already simplified. Don't have to simplify. Semi-annual is a half a year, so you could put down a half. Semi-annual is the same as every 6 months. So you again, semi-annual, you get half. Quarterly is every, when you do a quarter, it's 3 months. So it's 3 out of 12 or quarter. 1/4, quarterly. 4. Let's continue. Let's calculate some interest on certain deposits in the bank. If you put $6,000 at 4% annually for 3 years, so again, you notice annual interest. So the I, interest, equals P times R times T. So the principal is $6,000 times the rate is 4%, and the time is 3. So because you have annual, again, 3 divided by 1. Annual is 3, is 3 years divided by annually 1. That's what gives you T to be 3. And in this case, it's good to work your calculator to get these answers. It makes it easier to work your calculator. So you have 6,000 times, what I forgot to do was change my, sorry about that. I forgot to change my percent to a decimal. Decimal 0.4 times 3. Change your percent to a decimal. Now multiply it out. So you get 6,000 times 0.04 times 3. So the calculator will give you $720. $720 is the interest you'll make on depositing $6,000 at 4% for 3 years. And what about working out the next one? 500 at 6.5% annually for 2 years. So I equals P R T, and the interest, the principal, is the $500 times The rate is 6.5%. And again, annual for 2 years is twice. It's going to occur twice. And we change, first thing I do is I change my 6.5 to 6.5. Now I multiply, that's $500. Now I multiply by a decimal. So 6.5% is decimal 0.65 times 2. And when you multiply all that out, 500 times decimal 0.65 times 2, and I get $65. So that's the interest. Again, 500 times decimal 0.65 times 2, $65 interest you made. I'm depositing $500 for that. C, interest. You're putting $10,000 in the bank at 2% annually for 3 years. So I, interest is PRT. Interest principal is $10,000. The rate is 2%. And again, as annual, you got 3 years divided by 1, so that's 3. This comes into play here. You can say, what are you doing this for? Well, as you do compound interest, which is the next topic, and as you do compound interest in the higher grades, this is important to do. But not right now on simple interest. You see 3 years, you just say 3 times, because it's going to happen 3 times. But I want to see if you understand what you're doing. So it happens 3 times because it's 3 years, because it's annual. And the 10,000 times decimal 0.2 times 3. And when you take your calculator, that's $10,000. So let's put $10,000 $10,000 times decimal 0.2 times, and it's 3 years. And I get $600. So 10,000 decimal 0.2 times 3. So what I'm doing now is I'm checking my calculator and everything is right. So I get $600 interest on that time period for that amount of money. So what you can do now, all the problems that's going to occur now are practice. So you work them out first and then come back to see if you're right. Here we go. Number 1, $2,000 at 5.2% annually for 4 years. Interest equals P times R times T. Principal times rate times time. Principal is $2,000. What you put in the bank. The interest is 5.2%. And again, 4 years. Why? Because it's 4 years, happening once every year, so it's 4 times. And we change the percent to a decimal. So it's decimal 0.52. You move your decimal 2 places to the left, and you get decimal 0.52. And when you work that out on the calculator, you get 2,000 times decimal 0.52 times how many years? 4 years. $416. So 2,000, perfect. You get $416 interest. Number 2, $900 at 12% annually for 2 years. Notice the interest rates I have here are a little bit high compared to the economy today, but these are only numbers to be worked out, not really, because the interest rates today are very, very low. Let's see, the principal, the PRT, principal is $900 times the rate, which is 12%, times 2 years, it happens for 2 years. Annually is 2, so 2 divided by 1 is 2. $900. 12% is decimal 12 times 2. So 900, let's use our calculator again. And we go 900, 900, times decimal 12 times 2. And we get $216. Move that away. $216 in interest for 2 years. So notice, simple interest is easy to calculate. Principal equals rate times time. Now we have some more problems. If $3,000 is invested at 2.6% annually, how much is it worth after 3 years? So notice they're saying how much is in the bank. So that means you have to take your $3,000, find your interest, and add it on, because the interest is going to be added on. So the ones we did before, we just found the interest. Now we have to add on that interest after we're finished to find out how much is going to be there. So we still do interest equals principal times rate times time. The principal is $3,000 you're depositing. The rate is 2.6%, and is happening annually for 3 years. So we change the 3,000. Okay. Decimal 2% is 2 places to the left. So 2.6, 2 places to the left, 1, 2. And we take our calculator, and calculator, remember, works very fast. So we clear that. So we got $3,000, and we got decimal 0.26, and we multiply it by 3 years. And that gives us, see? Notice I have 9,000. 9,000 seems like a lot of money to get interest, but if you look back, I didn't press a multiplication sign right here. So I made an error. I know I'm not going to get interest that high, like triple. That's like triple the amount of interest. So I clear it, and I got, make sure, times. So I knew I made a mistake. So I just check it out. Times 3. Now notice I got multiplication there and a multiplication there. And now that seems more like it. 2, 3, 4. $234. That seems more like it. If you make more than what the $3,000 you put in, then you got a really good bank account. Put your money in that all the time. You'd be happy. But I made an error, so I knew I was wrong. A person borrows $15,000 at 7.5% per year for 5 years. Notice you're borrowing money now, so it's working the same. You're going to borrow money, simple interest, and you're paying per year for 5 years. So let's calculate the interest that you're going to pay out on for 5 years. So this is calculated by the banks. So you go with the flow, and the principal is $15,000. That's okay. Times the rate is 7.5%. That's okay. And it's per year for 5 years, so it's going to happen 5 times. So $15,000 done. 7.5% is 7.5. So notice I'm doing one step at a time. Half is 0.5. Take your calculator, and you should have it memorized. 1 division 2 is 0.5. But I should automatically know that a half is 0.5. Now, when I change my percent, 7.5 is decimal 0.75 times 5. So I got 15. I could put a 0 in front of here, but not necessary. So that's a 5. Now I multiply 15,000 times decimal 0.75 times 5. Let's see what that gives us. 15,000 times decimal 0.75 times 5. Let's see if I'm right. Just making sure. Yep. I have the, let's see. Wow, that gives me 5,000. Did I 15,000 at 7% for 5 years? That's a nice bit of money. So 5625. That's a lot of interest. So if you made this amount of interest in that period of time for 5 years, then we want how much money does the person have to pay back? Well, the person has to pay back the total amount to pay back would be the principal plus the interest. So the principal is 15,000, and you're going to add on the interest, which is 5,625. So if you take your calculator and add that up, you get 15,000 plus 5625 plus 5625. So it's $20,625. So you have to pay back $20,625. But as you know, if you think about it, you're going to pay it back probably in monthly installments. You can't pay it all back right away. So this is why you borrow your money and then use the money to buy whatever you're going to do, whatever you're going to do with it, and then you pay it back over time. So let's say if the loan is paid back in monthly installments, what is the monthly payment to the nearest dollar? So you have 5 years. So 5 years is 5 times 12. So 5 years is 60 months. So if that be the case, you have 60 divided into 20625, or you can write down 220,625 divided by 60. Your choice. You can do long division or you can do a calculator. Most students would do a calculator. So I take the 20,625 and I divide it by 60. Divide it by 60 and I get $343.75. $343.75. So that gives me 343.75 when I divide that out. But we want it to the nearest dollar. So it's 3. There's the dollar right there. So we look at the digit to the right of it, which is 5 or more. We add 1 on. So it's 344. So your monthly installment is $344. Good little problem. Just take your time and work it out. Not just something different. Again, as you grow older and you borrow, you'll find out how this works. Or you'll be, in your lifetime, you will borrow money. You'll have to pay it back. And find the interest earned on a bond. So this time we're just finding the interest. We're not adding it up to principal and interest and divide it and do monthly payments. We're just going to find a straight interest. So $8,000 borrowed for at 3% annually for 5 years, straight interest. So we get $8,000 at 3% interest and we're 5 years. So $8,000 .03 times 5, so $8,000. And we work that out with a calculator, much easier. And teachers will allow you to use your calculator when you're manipulating more multiplication, it makes it easier to calculate everything out. So you get $1,200 in interest that you have to pay back. Interest equals principal times rate times time. That brings us to the end of the video. And if you like my video, click on the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, write a comment on my video. If you want, you can visit my website at www.mathfullyexplained.com. There you will see information about me, my videos, and my content. These are different sections that you can read the information on. Hopefully you enjoyed my video. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.